When I talk about mountains, I'm really talking about myself. Mountains have become a teacher, a friend, and a refuge over the years. So to talk about them shows something about me.
If I am alive.
Before I get too far into this, I probably should tell you about how I got to know mountains. For a couple summers, I guided outdoor trips. We took folks rafting, backpacking, rock climbing, mountaineering, and even caving. During that time, I began to learn how to climb mountains, how to deal with the dangers, the harsh atmosphere, and the infinite variables in mountaineering. Taking people up there brings out a lot from deep inside they have to deal with, and if they're open to it, that time can really change them. That's how I began to get to know mountains, and how I began to learn from them.
And I still applied to what you are.
There's this place up on Mount Adams called Sunrise Camp. It's one of the advanced base camps that people stay at before they summit. Well, one time when I was up there, and after we had gotten everyone in the group in tents, I went down by this creek formed by the glacial runoff, and I found a spot to sleep. Moved away the rocks and found a beautiful sandy spot. I made a space just big enough for my sleeping pad. When I lay down, there in my sleeping bag, next to the stream with no human noise or light, the heavens were open before me, and you wouldn't believe how many stars I saw up there. Probably 1 million, maybe even 1 billion. So I lay up there. I realized how somehow, when I was closer to heaven like that, I felt closer to God. I just soaked in the beauty and let that holy feeling wash over me. Another time, when I was climbing up Mount Hood, I think I learned one of the most real lessons about life I've ever learned. We were climbing the South Route, one of the most common ones, because it's so easily accessible from Portland. And every year, someone up there dies. Well, we were climbing and moving slowly. One of my friends had acute mountain sickness and the other one was a bit out of shape, so all in all we were moving pretty slow. When we got to a section near the top, we left the two guys that weren't doing as well and we continued up towards the top. When we were about 400 feet from the top, I heard a guy yelling. So I looked over and I saw this guy sliding down faster and faster. Everyone was yelling at him to stop, to self-arrest with his ice axe, but he obviously didn't know how to do that. And before I knew it, I saw him fall over a ledge, and we all just stood there, still in shock. As far as we knew, we'd just seen one of the guys that was going to die this year, one of the people that was going to be in the news. So we walked towards him, walked closer to him, and we're wondering if he'd fall into a crevasse or into one of the sulfur vents where people asphyxiate. Josh, my boss, he had a lot more mountain experience than I did in medical training, so he took charge of the whole situation, and he said we needed to get closer to see what had happened. To our relief, the man was alive. He got really lucky, and a little ice wall had stopped him after his first bounce, and all that he really ended up suffering was a fractured upper leg. So we got there and we stabilized him and moved him out of the way from icefall, and just stayed there with him for the next 4 hours until Portland Mountain Rescue came. Once they arrived, we dragged our sleepy bodies down the mountain and we went home. So that day, I learned that the mountain, it might be beautiful, but it can take your life at any time. And if you plan on spending any time up there, you have to be okay with that. And you know what I figured out? That every step I take, wherever I go, whether it's in the mountain or in my neighborhood, whether I'm driving or riding my bike, I'm agreeing that I might die out there. And there's this sense that I participate in my life, but in the end, I'm not really in charge. And really, I'm okay with that. Mountains, they're definitely dangerous, but there's another element to them that can't be forgotten. There's a lot of peace that's found up there. Up on the mountain, before you get above the tree line, you'll find streams with plants and small bushes. The plants are interesting because about 3/4 of the year they're covered by snow, but somehow they figure out how to survive and come back every year. When the flowers are blooming, the rocks can be covered with a light color. Sometimes you'll see a mountain goat or an adventurous bird at that altitude. And even though I'm a visitor and a stranger up in these alpine meadows and lakes, I feel more at home there than I do in most places. I think it's something about the simplicity of it all. The noble beauty that doesn't judge you or condemn you. It simply is. And as a visitor, we can join in and be alongside them. The mountains stand for what I stand for, except when I stop standing, they'll still be there. I wish I could write a beautiful poem that represents the mountains. I'd like to say that they're gentle as a blooming flower and as temperamental as the sea, a taciturn teacher and a raging rapid. I'd also say that they show a path to peace, pointing upwards to something greater than themselves. But it's something like the mountains, something that I respect like that, we can't just talk about. We really have to experience them. And that's what I hope for everyone. I hope that everyone can experience them as I've been able to.
Searching boxes underneath the counter on a chance that on the tape I'd find a song for someone who needs somewhere to long for.